welcome everybody to another Utility Advisory Committee meeting. Now I'll call the meeting to order. So now we're going to, I guess, start confirming that, so if you help me out, Josh, on the confirmation of posting, that everything was posted, and being it was early, this time we posted it on the proper formats and everything. I guess I just caught that earlier, so I'll get that down for next meeting, the proper way to say it. So everything was posted properly and on time. And so then we'll do a quick roll call. So I guess we'll just go down the line. So Howard.
Here.
Eileen Wilkerson.
Here.
Larry Carr here. Ned.
Here.
Marty.
Here.
Greg.
Here.
And unfortunately, due to, we now have a vacancy. One of the members had to resign. And if I am understanding correctly, there will be a vote on the next council meeting on the 14th.
Yep, that is correct.
Thank you. Okay, so I will open up the first public comment period. So that it relates to only the items on the agenda. And is there anybody in the audience? Okay, was there anything that was sent in? Thanks, Josh. Okay, so let's open up the call. So it's 702-589-9629. Okay, again, the number is 702-589-9629. Okay, not hearing any calls, then like I said, no other comments. We will continue on. So is there any additions, changes, or anything to the agenda anybody wanted to discuss? Okay, hearing none. Keegan, is there anything, or does anybody have any, is there anything that we'd want to change the order on the agenda?
No changes for me.
Okay. So I guess we'll just go ahead and go through the agenda. The only thing I'll probably comment on tonight is that it looks like I think it's probably pretty obvious, but the biggest thing we'll majorly focus on is the CIP report.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll go to agenda item number 1 for possible action, approval of the following minutes. So we're approving the minutes for September 29th, 2021, and November 3rd, and they were both regular meetings.
I have some corrections.
Okay, can you?
On the, we received a new draft just a few minutes ago with a bunch of corrections, but on the September 29th, on page 2, my last name is misspelled. Then on page 5, 4th paragraph up, the word should be effluence, not affluence. On the last paragraph, Daniel Combs' name is misspelled. And it's also misspelled on page 7, 4th paragraph down.
So you can just hand those to Josh. at the end. To make-
Sure.
Appreciate it.
And
Okay,
then on the November 3rd minutes, on page 6, down in the middle, we were talking about the three-phase electrical meters. And it says, Vice Chair Eileen Wilkinson asked about the cost. Mr. Luttrell gave an estimate, period. Was there an amount that was estimated? And if so, it should be in there. And that's all I have.
You're talking about the three-phase electrical meters, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, on page 6, the minutes don't reflect what estimate you gave.
Yeah,
and
we were-
I think that's important.
we can add that to it, but just for recollection, it was $225 for the next 2 years. $225,000.
Oh.
We'll get it corrected.
Thank you.
did anybody else have any comments on the minutes? Okay. So just for the record, so there are changes from the packet, and they've been posted. We have copies, and if there's any, I guess if anybody has any questions, they can contact the city, but it will be, so they will be, so with the changes that we've asked, then I move to approve the minutes.
With the changes, I second.
Okay, thank you. So then we would see them again then to sign them. Okay, thanks. Okay, so then, so we'll close that agenda item, go to item number 2 for possible action, discussion, and possible action.
Mr. Chair,
Sure.
need to take a vote.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Okay, still my head's in the holidays, I guess. Everybody approve the motion for the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any disapproval, say nay. So, a unanimous vote? Thank you. Okay, so close that out and go to the next one for possible action, discussion, and possible action of committee goals and priorities. So do we have anything to put on the screen, or do we just want to go over basically, or?
The major, I don't know if it's major, one of the items that we've been saying that you guys have been asking for and we said we'd give you is the timeline for moving forward on the budget process. It was handed out to you. I see a few of you are holding it, the color-coded one, yeah. That's just for the operation and maintenance, since we're nearing the end of tentatively approving the CIP. So this would just be moving forward. I can get you a full calendar if need be, or we can show you what a draft would look like for next year.
Okay, I guess right now, then we can work with this, and so, because that's gonna be the next phase, right?
Yep.
Our next major aspect,
Mhm.
so, yeah, we just got to keep, the timelines active.
Yep. And then down for number 2, the annual review of water, sewer, electrical revenue requirements. We're talking about the fiscal year-end audit, which you guys reviewed the CAFR, a 5-year budget plan. I had added that to our deliverables tracker. I haven't had a chance to get that compiled. I know you guys were asking about possibly 2018 to 22 for operations and maintenance. And then for next fiscal year budget, that's also on the deliverables tracker. As I had said at the last meeting, we typically get that right before Christmas. If I do get it at that time, that's when we can share it. If not, we'll share it with you the first meeting in January. It'll be included in that packet.
Okay.
So you'll see all that. And then for the rate review, I guess this would, it kind of goes here, kind of goes with the CIP, but I did get some good news. Finance department was able to get all the CAFR information put into our rate model, and that's when I had asked about our proposed plan of pushing forward some transformer purchases. And I'll go into more detail when we get to the CIP, but it does appear that with council's approval, we'll be able to do the purchase of 4 transformers early.
Yeah, that's great, great. Now, so they've populated the Raphtilis, or the spreadsheet, Can they send that, can you send that to us?
You actually, I will send it out, but the handouts, the 11 by 17s, we'll get into that when we're going through the CIP, but that is, there's a breakdown for electric, water, sewer, and the landfill included there.
Okay, I didn't catch that, sorry.
I noticed on the goals, it hasn't been changed at all
No,
to
and
be updated
yeah.
to what we discussed last time, and,
that I had a conversation with the chair the other day, and I will take the blame for that. I just haven't had the time to get to some of the other items. I've been more focused on getting the CIP together, including general fund and utilities. So that's been my major focus. But
okay, thank you
we
very
are
much.
keeping the notes of the changes that you guys have been asking for, and we'll get to that.
Okay,
Yeah, again, on the deliverables too, if you get that, if you can just go ahead and send that to us
Yep.
as soon as possible. So, where does the, rate, we actually don't have that on this agenda except possibly through the goals.
Yeah, that would probably be the only time is the goals, if we want to talk about rates.
Or at least what you handed out, so, because I think that's in this, so if you want to go through the goals and then come back to that, that's fine, but I think those sheets are associated with this agenda item.
The 11 by 17s that we're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, that, we can discuss that when we're going into the CIP, because that will show us how much money is available for each year, so we'll be able to make sure we've got our projects in the right years.
Okay. Is there, how was, this meant to be distributed? In this format, in, a spreadsheet, or do you know? Because I guess it would be nice to sort of be able to have a copy of it too, besides just the paper.
Yeah, we can send it to you electronically, just in a PDF format. We don't even, that's the only format that I have it in is a PDF.
Okay, yeah,
Well, actually, I think one of them was a Word document, but it's ultimately what you're seeing there.
okay. Because I guess in the future, it might be nice if we can even have that, the updated Raptilla, since it was in the Excel spreadsheet. It might, if that's, I guess, see how we do it, but.
I was talking to finance about that, I know Josh has got an older copy of it, because we were wondering if there was ways that we could play around with it. One thing that we're apprehensive about is if we start making some changes and finance doesn't ultimately have a chance to review it before it's given out to the public. It's gotten us in trouble in the past with incorrect information getting out, so they were apprehensive on that, but we'll see what we can do so you guys can get your hands on something.
I appreciate it.
The next item, water conservation plans, we do have an agenda item on that, continue to work on that. And then the IRP is the last one where we had asked to, or you guys had asked to put in the tentative timeline something before present updated IRP to the UAC by October. We're looking at doing something for this spring to start with the draft, and then, so just an additional bullet point before we get to October, November, December.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yep.
And I think you were gonna actually add the deliverables into the goals, that way it'll be part of the agenda item each time also.
Yep.
So,
I meant to bring that up with me, but it appears that I've.
but I guess that would be an additional, would that be the additional goal too, right? I think if we add what I'm saying is add it to, as a final goal, so it's basically, it's a goal for both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can do that.
That way, that makes it easier, I think, to keep it part of the agenda.
Okay.
Because it's part of the goals. Okay, anything else on the goals? Any other member have a question on the goals? Yeah. Okay, so we will close that out and go to agenda item number 2023. So then, okay, so update on ongoing capital improvement projects and utility fund capital projects year-to-date provided by staff.
So the biggest announcement that I want to make is that we have been in contact with Power Tech. They're an electrical design company that Mr. Todd had put us in contact with. They submitted their statement of qualifications, so they are now officially on our qualified consultant list, which was a master list that our engineering staff compiled this last spring for multiple different disciplines, but we can add companies at any time. So they submitted that. They're on our master list. We're currently working with them on a scope and a fee for a number, 4 or 6, it kind of depends, of these design projects. Because I know we have long lists that are bottlenecked by the design. Right now we're looking at 4, possibly 6 projects that they'll be able to start working on the design for us. We just have to get the scope and fee nailed down, depending on the price, then whether I have to take it to council or not. But as soon as I get that, then we'll be able to move forward. Another update is the feeder 53 replacement. We were doing that in-house design. That is, the design was completed, the specs are done. We're just doing one last review on it. Mr. Grimes, who does the design for us, has always done an amazing job, so anytime he prints something out, there's very little changes that need to be made to that. So we're hopeful that that one will be ready to move forward in the very near future. Let me see. There was also a couple of the projects that have been either completed or that portion of the project's completed. So we had an email go to the city manager requesting to close out some of these projects and then transfer any remaining funds to, some of it went to the 4K overhead project because that's where a lot of the money is being spent. I know with Red Mountain we asked to move money out of that because the 1.2 million is way more than what is needed for that. We asked for that money to be moved. Carol, did that get moved to the 4KV? Correct. 4KV. Similarly, the pole replacement, we're going to purchase the remainder of the poles that we need and then transfer that money to the 4KV because they are replacing the poles, so that's where the money needs to be. And then there was, Carol, can you remind me which, we transferred money out of one to go into the San Felipe? Oh, feeder 53, yeah.
Yeah, so we transferred money out of E2101. San Felipe Mendota feeder.
Okay.
All of these transfers will show on the November when we actually, because it wouldn't have showed up in October, but they will show on your next report. All the ones that are closed will move to the bottom. And then there'll be a footnote and it'll be highlighted on any of the changes where we transferred money to that project.
Okay. So, and then next time we'll have the priority list, and so we'll have the 2 spreadsheets next.
Correct, because that one, the status is every other meeting.
Yep. Right. So, that's
So we'll
what I
have
figured.
both of those.
We would go into more detail on the ongoing next meeting.
Correct.
So, okay. Now, the one thing I think I believe I asked last time was whether these go to council or not, whether the closures. Like I said, one did. There was one where there was a sheet on 2 capital projects that were closed, and requested it. So is that not a requirement? I thought somebody was going to look into it, but maybe I.
Carol could probably answer this better than me.
No, when we're transferring within the same electric to electric, water to water, into the same fund, it is approved by the city manager, not the city council.
No, what happened was, like I said, there was one of the meetings that you had when you closed out a project. So we were closing the project out, and then I guess you were asking for the funds to be transferred something else. And it was just also a closure procedure to say, okay, these are done.
When we finish a project, I'll go for final acceptance and to pay off the retention. Is that Was that what we did?
Yeah, I believe that's the
Okay.
case. I'm sorry, I didn't review it before I came, because
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, there was one last year, at least one.
Okay, so
where
yeah.
I believe there's 2 or 3 projects that were completed, and you took them in front of council. I can't remember if there was an action required on that, or if it was just reporting that it was being done, but I believe some of the money did get reassigned too.
So 2 reasons that I would take something to council. One is an actual project just got completed, and we need to do the final acceptance on it, make the last payment of the retention, release the bonds. And then another is if we're gonna close a project and there's remaining funds, and we wanna move it to something that's not already a designated project, that's when we'd have to get council's approval. But if we're closing out a project and moving it to another project within that same fund, then the city manager can sign off on that.
I was just trying to get clarification,
Okay.
since I saw it in one meeting
Yeah.
and didn't understand we were doing it again.
If it's not one of those two items I just mentioned, just give me a call and I'll dig into it and figure out what happened.
Okay. And then I guess, next,
What did
Go
the
ahead.
2101 go to, the money? Where did it get transferred to?
Actually, no, it was the, okay. I said that wrong. The feeder 53 replacement, the E1902, that one actually went to E2101.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
Fair
No,
enough.
that's why I want to get clarification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Claremont conversion, the E2010, that balance went to E1901 because that was the continuation of the same portion of the project. So if you recall a couple meetings ago when we gave you that whole electrical spreadsheet, all of these were already on there. We just took the action. So it'll all look familiar because we discussed them all. And then in November, you'll actually, when I give you the November report in January, you'll actually see where they've moved. The new balances will be footnoted and the closures will be at the bottom. And they'll stay on there the entire year until we close out in July.
I guess, can we, maybe the next time, get an update for the 4K, KV to 12K, since we're adding more money, and I'm not sure where we're at with that project.
Yep, yeah, we'll make sure we've got a description on the status report, and then we can go into detail on that.
Yeah, because I think that was supposed to be done in 22, right?
It was supposed to be
In 21,
done,
I mean,
and then
21.
we find more stuff we needed to do, and then with Marvis being short-staffed, PAR's been helping us out more than we originally anticipated, but we'll have a description for that. when we-
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything new on the water or sewer?
Water for the copper service replacement, this is the one that's listed on here, W 2006. That's an older one, but we're bidding a new project out tomorrow, and I'm actually taking one to council next week. Or no, I just took it to council, sorry, for acceptance for a new contract. And that will complete the amount of funding that we have for the W 2201. No, that's not it. That's water meters. The 2006 is what it is? Okay. So yeah, W 2006 copper service replacements. We could just keep funding the same number. That's why it looks old. But so that project will be 100% spent by the time we complete the next project that's going to be advertised tomorrow.
Are we pre-purchasing the 1-inch copper rolls?
Not
Right
to
now,
men-
copper's down a little bit. It'd be wise to maybe look into that and strike while it's hot.
Yep, I can definitely look into it.
Because right now, copper's down a little bit. That would behoove us because we can store that inside a locked warehouse or inside somebody's office and it isn't gonna bother them.
Thanks.
Elsewhere on water. nothing major to update on that. I know Mr. No is replacing some valves and some other equipment, but nothing major.
Okay.
For sewer,
Did we get that grant for those water meter replacements?
we haven't received any funding for it yet. I've been working through, I'm trying to remember the name of the website. It's some federal funding website. I've been working through that, and I believe we got all the information in there. I did get an email about a week ago from their grants administrator apologizing that they weren't able to assign somebody to our grants approval last month, but somebody should be in contact in the very near future to start working through whatever else hoops we have to do. But to me, it sounds like it's official. I just want to be able to speak to them in person or on the phone before I announce it, other than saying here that, yeah, it does seem like we have got it. For sewer, I know there's been some pump purchases and looking at replacements. Mike, that was down at lift station 1, right, that you were purchasing those pumps for? Yes. So down at lift station 1. But major project announcements, there's nothing on here to. And then landfill. I know our city engineer was meeting with them, but I can't remember what it was. Was it for the reclosure?
I believe it was for apartment. Talking about the landfill.
Yeah.
It was for apartment.
Okay.
I forget which one.
Yeah. Not a major update, but I know our city engineer is still working with our consultant on that.
Mark, I believe it is.
And what?
In Mark permit.
Okay. Permitting.
Yeah, well, that's nice, at least get some, and then we'll do the major updates
Yep.
next month, but it's good to keep things moving forward. Appreciate it.
So that's all I have for the status.
Did anybody have any comments or questions on the ongoing capital? Okay, so I guess, agenda item number 3, we will close out agenda item 3, go to agenda item number 4 for possible action, discussion, and recommendation to City Council regarding the 5-year capital improvement plan. So I guess, do you want to start with these numbers, or do you want to go with the report, or do you want to, or even some of the, I'm not sure, do we need to do any more with the document in the back?
We can start with the handouts and then go into the memo that would be the recommendations to council, if
Okay.
that works. So the first one is the electric cash flow and CIP scenario option A. I provided 3 options to finance. Option C would be leaving it how we had it, nothing's being spent in 22, everything 23 forward. And option A was to pre-purchase transformers for 2 of the substations, substation 3 and substation 4, for approximately $4 million. So looking at FY22, they added that $4 million in there, and it leaves, you see the gray, the shaded gray across there. We have to keep a minimum of 20% in there, and by pre-purchasing 4 of those transformers would leave us at 38%. I just ran some quick numbers in my head, and if we were to pre-purchase 6 of them, it brings us down to like 19%. So there's a chance that, I should back up a step. Marvis did receive some quotes on transformers. Transformers, they're estimating is $800,000 plus or minus 10%. So I just said, let's leave it at the million. We'll pre-purchase some and see what we come up with. If they come up and there are 800,000, 900,000, there's a possibility we will be able to purchase 6 of them and still remain above that 20% minimum. I also, in talking with PowerTech, the electrical consultant that we're working with, I asked them what their estimate is for rebuilding these substations, design, and other equipment, just the full rebuild. They gave me an estimate little bit less than 300,000 to do a full design. Now knowing that substation 3 and 4 have already been designed, but years ago, I dropped that design to 150. I think it's way more than we need, but I wanted to be comfortable with it. So I left substation 3 and 4 at 150,000 just to be able to dust them off, maybe make any improvements or changes that we see fit. And you'll see that for substation 3, we'll start the design in next year. Substation 4 will start in 24. Substation 5, leaving that at the 300,000, that's why you see 2.3 million would be in 25. They also estimated approximately $2 million for other equipment purchases. So once we dust those designs off a little bit, that might be something else that we can pre-purchase too. And then they anticipated about 800,000 for the actual construction work for the substations. So those numbers are reflected in there. You'll see on the bottom of that first page, substation 3 and 4 in fiscal year 22 is the transformer purchases. And then for fiscal year 23, you'll see the design for sub 3 and a pre-purchase for transformers for substation 5. And then substation 3, you'll see 2.8. That's 800,000 for construction, 2 million for other equipment purchases. If we can move that up, we definitely will.
Yeah, because I think you'd want that in 2023 if we.
Yeah,
And
if we
since
can.
we're shifting the transformers, we should be able to do that, right?
Yep, because yeah, looking at the 20% minimum for fiscal year 23, we have 52%, so it does look like some of that can shift forward.
I see what you're saying, okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's what, for sub 3, 4, and 5, you'll see there's a $2 million for transformers, 150,000 or 300,000 for design, and then 2 million plus 800,000 for other equipment and construction. And then we still have the same sub 1 to sub 4 feeder ties for 1.2, sub 2 to sub 3, 750, the 3-phase commercial meters, the 225 that Miss Eileen was asking about in the meeting minutes. And then, if needed, the San Felipe to Mendota, an extra 100,000 to make sure we can finish out that if we don't have enough from last year, or the year we're currently in. So all those, everything down below from the 4 kV down, all stayed the same. I just shifted it around for sub 3, 4, and 5. Shifted it forward, I guess I should say.
So you were saying that, so the 20% so for 2023 because I see that they have the land revenue, does that include the land revenues, the 20%, or does it not? So you're saying to maintain the 20%, and I'm assuming because I guess I'm a little confused on the 20%, because we already have the 20% reserve.
And that's the 20, Carol, correct me if I'm wrong, the 20% is the 20% reserve, right?
This is showing the unrestricted fund balance.
Yeah, and then hopefully, that was what Raftillis confused the issue, because they included the reserves, the 20% with the cash balance, and so that, as unrestricted.
Okay.
And so if you separate the two, it makes it a lot easier to follow that you've got 20% already, and then you've got the cash flow. Now, on top of that, you've got, you've got the 1.3 for 2,000, we've got 600,000 in land sales to offset a little bit, and we have the 1.3 million in 2023 to offset that. So if we're talking, I just want to make sure that's included, not just saying that it's the cash available now.
Now, if you look at the bottom of the second page, it
Right.
explains those numbers that you're talking about, and it's all included in that calculation.
But I'm not seeing 20%. I don't see where the 20% comes in. It's cumulative inflation rate, I see annual inflation, I don't see where the 20% is. You mentioned 20%, but I don't see it here on the paper. Oh, it's okay, so that's on the front page. Is that where it
Correct.
is? Okay, so just, can you help us? So this
Basically, the front page is the overview, and you can track the numbers, like the Pago Capital. That's why she gave us the second page, because it actually breaks down where those numbers come from. And the second page, it shows the annual cost of inflation, it shows the, and then all the sources. So,
Well, and she is doing the pay, so she reduced the pay-go by the Cip. Okay, so that's what I was just trying to make sure, I didn't see
Yeah.
that on the back page.
yep, it's on
We were-
the bottom of the second page.
I was following the back page and hadn't got a chance to get to the front page
Yep.
to understand, so. Okay, so you're taking the, what we're asking for in the, well, actually, you're doing it for fiscal year 2023, also, you're putting in a 5% inflation amount automatically
Yeah,
on top of what we're asking for,
yeah, finance had done that just to be on the safe side.
okay? So, okay, so the only thing we don't see is if there's a beginning. Okay, here we go, that's the ending, okay, so it is okay, I'll have to study this more.
Now, one other thing to mention is with the possibility to pre-purchase transformers, we drop down to that 38% only if we spend that full 18 or 19 million this fiscal year, which I'm doubtful will happen because design's going to take some time. So it's highly likely that we'll be able to pre-purchase the 6 transformers, knowing that we're not going to be able to complete all the projects that are on the list for this current year.
Right. Yeah, because we definitely, as we've talked in previous meetings, we want one manufacturer. So if that takes purchasing them, but we also, I thought, you could get a contract with the manufacturer and do sort of pay as we go, as we order them.
It's my understanding that they're not comfortable doing that unless they know the money's there. That's something we can discuss further with them. Go for it, Mervis.
How that works, committee, is when you order a transformer, you pay as they build. So for every turnaround, you have to account for that amount that they've done. And then once the product is delivered and approved, you pay the remaining balance. But you pay as they build. So yeah, there's no such thing as cordoning it off and, paying a section at a time or such and such like that. No, they require payment as they complete, so 30%, 60%, 90%, and then completion after delivery, so, yeah.
And I wasn't trying to say that's what we should do, I was just saying it as a fallback, sorry,
Okay.
just because we had mentioned it. I agree, I think if we can pay it off, get it done, and I know Greg and Ned I think everybody said, let's get them, let's store them. We should be a secure location we can store them. And we should be able to work something out. I agree with you. I don't think right now so it looks like we're gonna have help with the bottleneck, and we'll probably know more next meeting how that's going with the new company.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
But most likely we'll still not have all the stuff done by the end of this fiscal year.
Correct.
So we would have that money, and we would, and to a certain extent, we could still possibly, I think even that's part of my understanding is what the reserves are about. To make sure that, I think we can even, so we'd have to ask, but I believe we could even use the reserves, the 20% to help cover that, and then you might have to rebuild it later. You'd have to keep it going. But the reserves are partly there. It's something we could talk about, I would
Yeah,
hope.
it's, what I was thinking is when I go to council to see if they are open to pre-purchasing 4 transformers right now, I will mention that the savings we're gonna see by pre-purchasing these, and ask them, essentially what you were just saying, if there's any chance to pre-purchase 6 of them. If we're gonna stay above that 20%, then I don't even need, but I'll still bring it up to them that if they would like to see us save that amount of money and dip into the reserves a little bit, which I'm not thinking we're gonna have to, but I'd still like to mention that to them, just so everybody knows.
Right. Yeah, I guess, so what I would say is, and again, just throwing something out there, as a worst case scenario is that we purchase the 4, but we ask the manufacturer to at least put it on hold, so we get it from the same manufacturer.
Yes, sir.
So we show them intent that we want it, and even if we have to put a down payment down, surely we can afford that. But I think, I'm hearing it, with everything we're saying, we want to get them online before costs even go up more. So
Yes.
I'm just looking at a worst-case scenario that, because if we can get all 6, the sooner the better and all of that, so I agree.
What I envision is going into council to ask for the purchase of the 4, and then we'll see how the next couple months play out with these other projects, and then when it's clear as day that we know that we're not gonna spend that 18 million, which right today I pretty much know that, but we can wait a few months, then I can go back and ask for 2 more to council.
Yep, okay, yep.
And then, my only thing about the reserves, I don't know what sort of laws or rules there are to dipping into that. I'd have to talk to finance to see if that's even, I don't even know if it's possible.
Again, I'm just throwing it, I'm
Yep.
just throwing it out, so I'm definitely not.
Thinking outside of the box,
advising
that's great.
I'm just trying to see, let's look at our options. What options and what are reserves or whatever, the funds we can get from.
Yeah.
So, because it's very important to moving everything forward, from what I can understand.
So with going over this scenario option A, is there any suggestions, recommendations? Leave it as it is for now?
Now you're saying, so this is scenario A?
Yep.
Okay. So the one suggestion I guess I would put, and sorry, is that we put the 2 million in fiscal year '23 for the rebuild of the extra equipment. So we have it on hand instead of, so it doesn't put off the build at all.
You're talking about for sub 5, move 2 million of that 2.3 forward?
Sub-build 3. So
Oh,
so
okay.
you got 2.8
Yes.
in '24, let's put that, so it'd be 2.1.
2.1 here,
1.5
and then
and-
we'll just have 800,000 in fiscal year '24.
Yes.
Yeah, because we're sitting at 52%. I don't see that being an issue of moving that one forward.
Right. Because and that's what so then for 4, we're getting the equipment 1 year ahead. And, 2 is, I mean, the Transformer 5 is just pretty much the Transformers anyway. So I guess is there extra equipment on 5?
I believe it's in one of those years, and I don't have my sheet, I put on forget. But we do have to redo the pads, the transformer pads there at 5. Thank you, for the additional weight of the new transformers. But outside of that, not very much more has to be done at 5. We're going to do some reconfiguration, try to get it to match 3 and 4 as best as possible without deconstructing and reconstructing the whole thing. But the majority of 5 is just replacing the existing transformer pads, upgrading. We've already upgraded the majority of the reclosures there, which is in this year. And that's it, basically. Do a little modification, but it'll be not to the extent of, obviously, 3 and even 4, so yes.
So then the 2.3 might be able to be reduced. And
Yeah,
maybe
we might be able to
that's
knock
next year.
off quite a bit of that. Knowing today that really council's only gonna vote on fiscal year '23, we can move it if we want, or just leave it the way it is, knowing that we're gonna do a full review of '24 next year.
Okay. But the one thing I do see is that I think just technical aspect here, sorry, but on 2026, you got 800 in rebuild 4, that should go to 5, I believe. No, it should be on for sub transformer 5. So you got 800,000 in 4, and then in fiscal year 26, it's in 4, but that should be moved down 1 line, I believe. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, I'm looking at the option A scenario that we were just talking about, and now we're flipped to the other page. Option A scenario shows all the money in the different years, and that's what we're looking at, not the one you're looking at. Flip the page over.
I'm talking about this one.
I'm talking about this one that was just handed to us. Flip
Right,
it over.
I'm talking about this.
No, flip it over. They just redid this whole thing. Option A. Are we doing option A? Are we looking at option A, or are we looking at the other page which
Okay,
has all the
okay,
stuff from
I
before?
guess I'm,
Option A is what I'm
Thank
looking at
you.
right now.
That's all I'm trying to do is get on the same page.
Yeah, option A.
okay, so option, okay, sorry, thank you. I thought that was the backup for option A, I misunderstood.
The question, Marvis, is substation 4 going to be redone to look more like substations 5 and 6?
Yes,
The same kind of configuration with
Yes.
with the bus and the,
more so like 3, once we do, because 3 will be our benchmark, obviously, and then we'll
Okay.
try to, since we're building that from stem to stern, we'll try to come back and touch 6, 5, and 4 to match as close as possible to 3.
Okay.
Without having to deconstruct and reconstruct the entire substations. Yes.
right, okay. So 3 is going to be more of a different kind of a layout than what you've got in,
3 will typically, sorry, Mr. Gray, it'll be typically like, and I hate to use them, but an NV Energy type substation, open air with both bus, transfer, and line bus, which we don't have here. But that'll give us and our substation personnel more operational
Just switching, yeah.
capacity and
Sure.
more of a safety aspect, yes,
got
sir.
it, okay, that's good.
Right. One question I got, I hate to be the fly in the ointment, but since I've retired, we've put in the Nevada Way tie between 3 and 6. We've done a lot of other work. When's the last time we did a fault current assessment, AIC assessment? Because we've added conductors, if we have our ring bus closed, we've got a loop all the way around the city. And I'm scared about our switching ability at 69 kV, if those things will handle it to clear the load.
And I don't want to say anything that's not accurate, so.
It's in review.
I'm saying it with caution, but I think WAPA did that, the last one, because of the concerns they had with obviously the tap is fed 230.
Yes.
And our regular line is from the 69, so they did those calculations. I think so. I'd have to reach out to Mr. Rory to verify that. But I think they did, but I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
2 items. One, I think the confusion between the back and the front of the sheet, I asked Carol not to make any changes to ClearGov until we had a chance to talk, because we literally just got these spreadsheets. I said, don't spend any time on making any changes to ClearGov yet until we talked. When finance was putting this together, they used ClearGov, so that's probably why the back isn't 100% matching up with here, with the option A. So, and then the other item about moving substation 3, the additional equipment forward to fiscal year 23, it looks very clear that that's a good possibility. I would just like finance to double check it in that rate model.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay.
Well, if we move 5 to 22, then there should be no problem, because then we're just swapping, but if we
Yep.
can't move 5, then we would want to look at it, so. Okay.
I had one more question for Marvis. Sometime I thought we had talked about the possibility of taking the transformers that are now in sub 5, those 12, 16, 20s, I think, and moving those down to
6.
6?
Yes, sir.
And that's still in the works then?
Yes,
huh?
sir.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
thanks.
And what we're going to look at, Ned, between the 2 at 5, which are the projected ones, and the 2 at 4, which are kind of equivalent to 4 and 5, or about the same. The best 2 out of the 4 is the plan to send those down, have them remanned, and put those down at 6.
Okay,
So, yeah, that is the plan.
yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, because there's not near as much load down there in the valley as there
Correct.
would be up in this part of town, so makes sense. Good, thanks.
Any other questions on electric? So the next one, the ones that are stapled together, the first one is the water cash flow, which you'll also see that it includes the ARPA funding, the rescue funding. So you'll see when you're looking at the minimum balance and what the fund balance is, you're 201%, 185, 166. That includes all of those ARPA funds. I wouldn't say evenly distributed, but distributed through up to fiscal year 26, because that money needs to be spent by 27.
So the ARCA, is that on the bottom?
Yep, you'll see down at the
Oh,
very
ARPA.
bottom of the page, right above subtotals for CIP sources, the ARPA funds are in there.
And it's, so, I think it was being said that the reason it's in water and wastewater, because they limited to that, and there isn't, you can't use the money for electrical?
We can't use it for electrical, and I'm not 100% clear on exactly what we can spend it on. I know we can spend it for water, I know we can spend it for wastewater, broadband's been brought up, and there's a few other items that we can spend it on, but for our knowledge, water and wastewater would be our focus.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that's
Yep.
why we only have it in here.
Yep.
Because that would have helped the electrical.
Oh, yeah, that's would have been really nice, but, nope, water and wastewater. So I've been working with staff on trying to come up with more water and wastewater projects to be able to help the city out, save our own city funds. One item that we're looking into is we need to upgrade our water meters. Currently, I guess it'd probably be 75–80% of them are the old style.
Yep.
Not able to be remote read. So that's one project we're looking into. We're trying to put together just a rough engineer's estimate on what it would cost to, I don't know if we'll break the city up into 5 zones to make it a manageable size project, but hire somebody to come in and just blow through those.
Mr. Chair.
Go
You talked about the ARPA money.
Yes.
And I've got a real good use for it. That's the fiber optic interconnect between our substations to allow our water groups to get in there. And we could offset some of that static wire fiber on the electrical side of the house through the water side of the house.
Okay.
So that's why we're doing this, is to get all our interconnections for our utilities. And I love selling people dark fiber. So if the electrical side's got dark fiber, they can sell it to the water side.
Okay. Yep.
And
we
so that
definitely
we
look
can
into that.
offset some of that money we're doing on the static peaks.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be happy to look in that.
Are the static lines on the new, the line go between 3 and Buchanan?
They look to be
that's got fiber in
OPG,
it?
yeah, they look to be optical guided wireway,
So
yeah.
it will have fiber in that static
Yeah,
line?
there's a coil right there on Georgia, on that last termination that they did, there's a big coil of it sitting down there.
Good. That's good. Somebody was thinking ahead. Good.
So now the water meters, so you're talking about, so the 150 that we have for this year, if I'm looking at this line item, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just for purchasing the meters, then you're trying to then get into it, we can just replace them all and that'd be the cost of of the labor.
The 150 was previous to us knowing about getting any ARPA funds. The 150 was the $75,000 grant that Josh submitted, that we were talking about earlier, and then 75,000 match from the city. That could be its own small project, but yeah, this possibly moving forward with a large scale project would be the same.
So, okay, and it'd just be labor then and trying to.
Labor, yeah, we were looking at us purchasing the meters and then hiring a contractor to come in and swap them out.
Gotcha. Okay.
We also know that we've got a lot of water services that we need to do. That would be another one that we could look at doing. Possibly even irrigation replacements at one of the golf courses that could fall under that. So we're kicking around different ideas. I know the city manager will be sharing with the city council in the near future a proposed plan to spend these ARPA funds, and then with their approval, then we could start moving forward. Another item that I'm told is we have to have a plan of attack to send to, I believe, the state on how these funds are going to be spent by the end of fiscal year 23, I believe. So anything that we have in that plan by the end of fiscal year 23, it sounds like it's kind of be set in stone. So we need to identify projects, but I don't know if we maybe leave them a little bit more broad in case something changes in the future. We'll still be able to spend those funds. But anything leading up to that point, it sounds like we can move funds from, say we wanted to do water services today, but we changed our mind and we want to do water meters. We can do that at this point, but after we send that plan to the state, it sounds like our hands are tied on where we said we were going to spend the money.
Okay.
So as you see, I was saying we're very healthy with those ARPA funds being in there. At this point, we're not putting anything I haven't proposed any other water projects until we get some more direction from council on how to spend those ARPA funds.
Well, did we have, something, Mike, maybe, did we have anything else on the reservoirs? I guess I was a little confused on exactly what we were told on that we were like gonna start. So when we got how we do the valves and stuff like that, so what work really needs to be done, and whether we wanted to, empty the reservoirs, and if we emptied them, then could be a lot more work. If I remembered when they did the presentation, I thought there was sort of possibly another shoe to be dropped, for lack of a better word.
Last I heard is we were in conversation with a team coming in, being able to basically scuba dive in the tank where we wouldn't have to drain it. And then I've also met with another local company that does similar reservoir repairs. I'm working on kind of a scope with him to see if he'll be able to assist us too with reservoir improvements.
Now, did they do a dive on the tank? Because when they do the repairs, if this dive finds anything else, because that's what I'm trying to get at, if I'm not saying it right, is that this might be a good time to make sure that we get the reservoirs 100%. Yeah. This might be the good money to do that.
Mike can clarify, but to my knowledge, we haven't done the dive yet?
A couple years ago, we had the dives done.
Okay.
We try to do them about every 3 to 5 years. But the last dive, a couple years ago, we had them look closer at the valves. But when a consultant or engineering firm takes over the project, they'll probably work directly with another diver first, just to have them look at specific things more closely. So.
And that's the company that I met with probably 3 weeks ago that specializes in that. So I'm seeing if I can come up with a scope with them to have them come out and check. But yeah, that would be another great addition to spending these ARPA funds.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
So then the water, for right now, especially for fiscal year 23, you were leaving the same? Is that what I'm seeing here?
Yeah, I haven't proposed anything else. We have the copper service replacements, which you see goes completely off the sheet. And then pressure reducing valve stations. We've got a number of butterfly valve, the 8-inch butterflies that we need to replace. That could possibly be another ARPA project. And then we have that grant water meter down at the bottom.
But
Or no, I was looking, that's wrong here, sorry.
The golf course.
The ARV and backflow, yep. And then the golf course estates, yep.
Yeah.
I did have a discussion with our roadway consultant, the city engineer and I did yesterday or Monday about doing that. He said it's no problem for them to get their design done by this summer, so we'll be able to kick off our water project, save on all the asphalt repairs, knowing that we're gonna have a roadway contractor come through and fix them all. So we'll just be able to do cold patches and save a decent amount of money per water service.
Great. Yeah, I guess if we're, that's one thing it depends if we add anything to the report or not, or general aspect, but if we do change fiscal year 23, most likely you're adding something from the ARPA money, and so it'd be easier to get it passed when you've got, here's money that we have here's the project, and here's the money.
Yep.
So so if it's later in the budgeting cycle, it wouldn't be as problematic.
No, yeah, it's not gonna cause any problems with that.
Good. Okay.
Any other questions on water?
Any questions?
Buy the rolls of copper.
I got it right here at the top of my list.
Well, you've got it all the way across the budget, 2028 for replacing copper service replacements. We would be money in the bank to get it when we can and buy it when it's low.
Yeah, that probably goes out to 32.
Yeah, well, it's
No, I
basically the whole doggone place, but what I'm saying is if we can get the copper, get it put in place and stored, we're gonna save a lot of money.
Yep.
Yes, I guess if I'm hearing him correctly, what might be stated is that you want to increase 22 and 23, maybe the money to show that that's where we need to do.
Yep.
So, because I believe the water has the funds to do the amount of copper for those 2 years.
Yeah. We do now that those ARPA funds are in there.
Okay.
Before, it was a little iffy if we had the money. Wastewater, you'll see very similar at the bottom. ARPA funds are in there, highlighted in the gray. The fund balance is very healthy, well above the 20%, like way more than that. Again, I haven't made any additional proposals for fiscal year 23 or anything out. We're still looking into possibly upgrading the treatment plant, and then installing a line to pump the treated effluent up to either golf course and or parks. But that would be funding coming from SNWA versus coming from us. I know Mr. Noah's got a number of items that he needs to upgrade, so that's going to be part of the presentation to council of what projects that we need to spend the money on.
I'm curious about the copper lines that are being replaced. Do we have some existing old copper lines that are still in service and they're going to be replaced as well? Is it all just PE, polyethylene, and?
Polyethylene's the only one that I'm aware of, but Mike, do we have older copper that we're replacing too right now, or is? We're focusing on the poly right now.
The old copper services, are they still holding up? I mean, some of them are really, really old, I know, but there are no problems with those, huh?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
So I guess, we'll talk about it during the report, but that's one thing I guess we want to clarify is how we discuss things that might be associated with the new plant.
Yep.
And since it's fiscal year 23, the other ones, they aren't as we just say we're on hold, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I guess the ones for this year and next year, we want to put them on hold until we find out where we're at.
Yep. And same thing for like the restroom or the restroom and shower we were talking about down at the treatment plant. It still needs to be done one way or the other, whether we're building a treatment plant. Maybe we look into, like Mr. Carr, you were suggesting, maybe there's a temporary way we can solve this while we find out if we're going to rebuild a treatment plant. Just for the safety of the guys, I'd like to see some option for them. I just don't know what that is at this point.
No, I agree, I totally agree. So
Yep.
when I'm saying just an option, I totally agree for safety and everything that we want something as soon as possible.
Yep.
It's just how it looks.
Yeah, but everything else down at the treatment plant, if it can't be incorporated into a new treatment plant, if and when we ever do it, I think we need to put all of those on hold, like you were just saying.
Okay.
We don't want to be spending $500,000 down there and then realize, oh, we're just going to rip that out and start with something different.
Does that include the second chlorine contact channel?
Yeah, it was the chlorine contact chamber or the aeration basins.
So what I'm wondering is if we're going to go ahead and build that second one, if there's a chance that they're going to rebuild the whole plant.
Yeah, and yeah, that's what I'm saying is.
It might be worth taking a look at and see if it's worth it.
Yep. If there's something we can't wait on, then yeah, I think that we need to do it, because it might be a number of years before that project ever moves forward, if it does.
Okay, so again, then you're gonna be looking more to see if there's anything that, because like I said, that's, I guess, in both the water and the sewer, I understood that, since we didn't have the contractor wanted more money for the large scale we were originally gonna look at. We didn't do the large scale of the water or the sewer, so there's still some, review to be done of our overall system.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you guys are in the process of reviewing it and finding out if we can do it. But again, if the money is associated with what we have, you just have to have it by 2023, the plans?
I believe it's the end of 2023 is when we have to submit the plan, so.
Okay, so do we need to have another survey done, or is there enough information in-house to cover that?
I think we have enough information, but I'm not positive.
Okay, so I guess that would actually go into the budget, not the capital. We'd put another into a technical review or technical or professional part of it. Okay. Okay, so, I'm sorry, is that anything else on the sewer?
Nothing else for wastewater?
Anybody else have any on the sewer then? Okay,
And then landfill, we're already working on the stuff that we know about that we need to do, so there's no requests for the foreseeable future.
okay, so, I think, you ready to go into the, is there any other documents you want to go to before we went to the report?
No, we can jump into that memo.
Okay, so can we do that online still?
I believe Holly's got it. Yep, there we go.
So the, I think, Keegan and you and I discussed this, that, and if I'm still hearing, there's still a few little factors that we want to do. So what we thought we would do today is make sure that everybody agreed with the terminology. But Keegan and Eileen and I, logistic-wise, we can all get together, I mean, how everything gets, we will make sure that the numbers, all follow, because that's, everything's a little confusing of what falling in what year right now.
Yeah,
I
we're,
guess-
that option A, at least for the electric, I think is fairly close. For water and sewer, we're fairly close, at least for your guys' recommendation to council. But to reiterate what you were saying, we're hopeful that we can get a consensus, a vote, that conceptually, this memo to council is what you want to recommend. And then Larry, Eileen, and myself, we can finalize the numbers. I can work with finance to see what we can push forward a little bit more. We'll finalize the numbers for the fiscal years.
Go ahead.
I've got an idea that might sway their opinion. With what finance has got calculated for cost of living rate increases, you tell them by buying the transformers in 23, 24, and 25, you're talking 20% more in cost.
Yep.
Okay, on top of the 10% you've already factored in, so you're talking up to 30% more in transformer cost if we push off the transformers for later dates.
Yep.
So that would be something you could take and discuss with them and say, look, this is what we forecast, this is what we've got on our agenda. If we don't try to get them now and get them as a package deal where they get the cost lowered, you can anticipate when we need them in 24 and stuff like that, you'll have a 30 to 40% cost increase.
Yep. Yeah, and talking with finance, they're fully supportive. After they made these spreadsheets that we just went over, they're fully supportive with doing that pre-purchase of the transformers. And I believe council will be too. They're definitely all about saving money, and it's pretty clear that we will.
So Marvis, did I hear, so sorry, ask another question. Did you state it and I missed it, that, did you get any inclination that if you did order 4 to 6 at one time, there was any break in price or anything in the past?
No, I just asked for, because I said, they hate to give a quote without an RFQ, but so the vendors that I knew did kind of quasi quote. So we got a quote from Georgia, Virginia, and ABB. So that's, 3 of them, and they all came in around the same, like 850,000. But that's just a quasi quote just to satisfy what we needed. So that number, like Mr. Keegan referenced, plus or minus 10%. So.
Okay. No, it's, and because if I remember correctly, when we did things for Hoover, who was part of the Boulder Canyon project, a lot of times when they ordered more from the same company, they would make some type of deal. And so I was just hoping.
And I'll shoot for that, obviously, get the best deal possible. And hopefully if we're ordering, like you said, in bulk, 4 to 6, they will cut us a break. But that's probably just, like I said, just the one transformer just to satisfy what I was trying to get to present to Mr. Keegan. But hopefully we'll get a little better deal than that.
And I appreciate that. So that's what I'm asking. I wasn't trying to push because I appreciate that you were able to come up with something for it. And it is, you weren't having a whole lot of luck, so I appreciate that. You give us some information. I appreciate it.
Yeah, like I said, but just to reiterate, just without a proper RFQ, a lot of these manufacturers don't want to do it. So hopefully once we put it out there, really once we get the approval to go forward, we'll get a true price and we can present it.
And then we'll have more idea what the company's going to say, how things are looking. too.
Absolutely.
So that's partly what I was getting at, whether they gave you an insight on additional things, but you were lucky to get the
Yes, sir.
quotes, I understand.
And
Okay.
as of right now, what was that, 38 weeks? They're projecting 38 to 48 weeks to build and deliver. So That's actually better than we thought.
Yeah, but still the better get it started, yeah.
Absolutely.
Because it, you know, we were looking at possibly a year and a half, which is, so that's a lot better,
Right.
but it's still, we wanna get it, we don't wanna get caught in the middle of something else again,
Absolutely.
so.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was a little surprised that they even gave it to Marvis in writing, knowing that it's just a budgetary number, but I was surprised they didn't just call him back and give him a number verbally.
No, gotcha, okay. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there's advantages to also buying that many transformers because the manufacturer, he only has to do design once and he can build all the parts, you know,
Assemble the line.
stacked up and ready to go. So I think it's gonna be a really good idea.
So for the report,
I was just thinking about something, if we've had that doggone, sub-transformer down there in the yard, down behind the landfill for bargaining chip, we could have given them the doggone steel laminations of the core and all the wire, and they could have had a heck of a deal to start with.
so there is some mention, this is before I found out that we're possibly gonna be able to do the pre-purchases. You'll notice in bold, kinda at the bottom of the first or the first subsection, it's saying, substation 4 and 5 request for fiscal year 23 for transformers, so we'll probably have to tweak the language to say what we've been discussing, pre-purchasing, sub 3, sub 4, right now, possibly sub 5. And then also, if possible, in that rate model, moving some of that additional equipment that Power Tech told me about for the other 2 million, if we can move any of that forward too. So we can, if you guys are comfortable with that, we can make that switch saying that we're recommending purchasing 3 and 4 in fiscal year 22. And then if possible, sub 5, move forward that also.
That sounds good. So I guess the thing is, does anybody have any concerns? Is if we agree to the basis here and we're tweaking the language a little bit and tweaking the projects, is there any problem? Does anybody see any problem with that?
The only thing I got is please don't be specifically vague. When you say transformer for sub 3, say 2 each, transformers for sub 3, spell it out.
Yep.
Because I'll tell you what, we start putting acronyms on stuff, that just goes over a lot of people's heads, and they just nod saying, yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things that, you know, we can have all kinds of shortcuts to spell it out, but I found that when talking to people that are citizens of Boulder City, it's better to spell it out entirely than to abbreviate.
Yep. I guess I should take a step back. Was everybody able to review this memo prior to coming? Is there any questions, recommendations? Now is a great time to bring up anything.
I think it's a draft, it's the first draft, I think it's a good.
Okay.
Keep on moving on it, so.
Does anybody else have anything on it?
Conceptually, is everybody in agreement with how the memo's making those recommendations?
Because actually I had comments myself.
No, and that's fine.
To the own aspect, so but if somebody else has something, they might have caught what I did. I mean, it caught additional aspects. So do we want to just go over do you want to go over just, say, the front page and just stuff like that? How does the group want to go through this? Do we want to read it quickly? If everybody's read it, do we want to say the first page, any comments, or what's the thought process?
I hate to put Josh on the spot, but can he make the typing corrections while we're looking through it and reviewing it? And that way, we read it, and if we see a problem, we get it corrected, and if we agree, then it's good to go.
That's what I was hoping for, yeah.
Okay?
But I guess the question is, you want to read everything? Just go ahead and read it real
No, we
quickly?
can I'll take a couple pages and read it, and then if we want to stop, we stop. We'll make the corrections, we'll fix it, and then we'll keep going the way it's rewritten.
Okay. Now so the thing I've got on the very top is whether we want a general recommendation, just in the case that the committee believes that we tentatively, because I think in here that we didn't get a general aspect of what we want. We gave them some general revenue. So I was just sort of thinking, UAC recommends that the city council tentatively approve the utilities for fiscal utility capital for fiscal year, 2003. Something like that, so that way it's, cause that's what I keep on hearing you say, is that it's tentative.
Yep.
And, so that way, cause in most of these, we're basically recommending that, but do we want just a bold statement saying somewhere towards the top, we agree that these should be tentatively approved?
I think the lawyer's gonna weigh in on that, because the following items are tentatively approved by the UAC. Okay, or you put it at the very bottom of the document and you say these items that are listed have been approved tentatively by the UAC.
But no, we can't approve them, so it's not, we don't.
These recommendations, that's what they are.
Correct.
Because we're the group that is reporting to city council, okay? You have to figure out legally if it has to be at the top or the bottom of the document. I don't know.
Okay, well then, if that's the case, we can ask that for the final, so then, but do we want just that general?
I think that would be recommended is you can have just one statement. Doesn't matter, I don't think it matters where you put it, but you can even say, as the Public Works Director is gonna present the utility CIP for fiscal year 23 to 27 in accordance with what was presented to the UAC is recommended, or.
Okay,
Because I'm gonna take everything that we've been discussing today, well, Carol's gonna do most of the work, but she's gonna put it in that ClearGov, the way we have it, the years we have it, and that's what I'm gonna present to council.
okay, so is everybody else okay with that? So we'll figure out, so then again, so what we see today won't be the final product, because if I understand correctly, it's December 14th is the meeting, right?
Yep, and I'll have to have all the backup by December 7th.
So
December
then
7th.
probably Monday or Tuesday, then we can get together
Mhm.
and then just make sure that we just get the final tweaks. So the general idea is here, and all we're gonna be doing is some final, and let's say we can find the same thing out, maybe you can ask the question, is it up front, is it at the end? A general statement, and then everything else, we just tweak it to make sure, okay, like you said here, the 3 and 4 is at 3, 4, and 5, but it's tweaks. The general concept is still there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and since this is just a memo to council with your recommendation, you guys, I don't believe the city attorney is really gonna review anything. It's just a recommendation. You guys are doing everything within your power.
Okay, and so we can figure out, do we wanna just type something in really quick? Or do we wanna just leave that towards the end, that we recommend that city council approves? Okay, go ahead, Greg. You're up.
This is a review of the utilities 5-year capital improvement plan for FY '23 through FY '27, including the ongoing capital projects by the Utility Advisory Committee. This information and recommendation in this report are based on information provided by Boulder City staff, the city, and discussions held with the city. Comments for ongoing capital improvement projects, also known as CIPs, are below, and that's what I think it should say. The UAC
Let's change that, let's do it, so you're saying comments on,
for ongoing capital improvement projects are below, listed below, however you want to say it. Because this is just a dead sentence.
comments, well, it was sort of a title, but that's, it's.
Right, but then center it. With the title, center it. We're talking about reviewing the document, we're gonna critique it a little bit and tweak it, because it is a draft.
Okay, comments for ongoing capital improvements, comma, as listed below?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have no problem with that, that sounds good.
The UAC is concerned about how many of the ongoing projects are still in the design phase or still have to be designed.
Okay, we need to wait for Josh, give Josh a minute to breathe. So let's go up to comments for ongoing capital improvement projects. So, one more up, Josh, where your cursor is. No, sorry. So comments for ongoing capital improvement projects. So I guess after we said CIP, right, would say comma there. And then you're saying then as listed below, is that comments for ongoing, comma, as listed below? So does that make it, so you're trying to show that we've got the ongoing projects listed in a separate area?
That's correct.
Okay, that's good. And then so you want that as a period, I guess, because that's still, you're sort of highlighting the aspect, so is everybody okay with that as a sentence? That would be a period then.
Yes, it should be a period.
Okay.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay, so then the next sentence, so the next sentence,
Is the UAC is concerned about how many of the ongoing projects that are in the design phase or still have to be designed can be completed by the end of FY-2022. Now, my question is, because this is a draft, and don't type anything, but I'm throwing this out, if we have a potential design engineer or company on possible retainer, can we put that in as an update?
Yeah, we could say that their statement of qualifications have been approved. They are a qualified firm or consultant, and we're currently working with them for a scope and fee for design.
Okay, so we'll wait and we'll get it typed in here because that is a true statement. So we can say that, you know, this is actually dated December 1st, 2021, so that is a current statement and a correct statement in this document.
but do you want to just put a holding, this placeholder for it then, to remind
It's
us?
it's up to staff and, you know, what we want to do, but I'm saying I'm not going to throw the city under the city staff under the bus by saying, you know, we're holding everything up because we don't have a design firm. Now we have one. As of December 1st, we have one.
Right, we're still not positive we can get all of them done, there's still a lot of projects, but at least we're going in the right direction.
Trust me, if this team is the way I think it was back when I was working with them, they've got so many design engineers and that staff, each one give you hand a project and it's done. That's all they used to do.
No, this is all about having more data, so if we're, you know. if
That's
we
what I'm
think we
trying to
got-
do.
So how about we add the sentence, in an effort to reduce the bottleneck in design. Finish that sentence, Keegan.
This, how do we want to say that?
Staff has.
Staff has received a statement of qualifications put statement of, before, there you go, statement of qualifications. And reviewed, or maybe, and determined. The consultant to be qualified for electrical design. Staff is currently working with the consultant on a scope and fee for the design projects. That work?
Well,
What
you said the consultants,
consultant?
Did you have more than one, or?
No, just one.
Just one,
Right
okay.
after determined, up one row, and then take that S out, yeah.
Now, while you're up there, what I would suggest, is that, so right before the, in an effort, so let's make that a new, I don't know if we wanna make it a new paragraph, but let's put a return on it, so that way it'll stand out cleaner. Yeah, and that way it'll be easy to see, cause I totally agree, that's what we want.
Yep.
So we can see it easy. Okay,
Okay, onward. Equipment for ongoing and future projects, especially the new transformers for substation rebuilds, need to be purchased as soon as possible. This is needed to be done. See, in other words, I'm gonna read it the way it is. This is needed to deal with supply issues. Do we put a period there, or we just comma?
well, that's what, I was thinking it's needed supply issues, ever increasing, I was trying to, it was a litany list sort of, but if you wanna break it into two different sentences, if you got a better way to do it, that's fine.
I think it looks good the way it is.
Okay. Large transformer production time, which can take up to 18 months. That's good. 2 transformers are needed for each substation rebuild. It is suggested that 6 transformers be ordered from the same manufacturer
Okay, that's good catch.
for uniformity, and the transformers for the substation 3 rebuild be purchased FY-2022. Should we include all 6 of them?
I would say in that recommendation, put substation number 3 and 4.
And 5.
And possibly
And
five,
possibly 5.
and possibly
I
five,
wouldn't say possibly, I'd just say 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
cause we're saying it is suggested.
Yeah, it's being suggested, okay.
Okay, yeah, that's a good catch.
Okay. So now, the tweaking that's gonna have to happen is requested funds for FY 2023. So electrical, I think, is gonna have to change, but you guys just need to put a pin in that and say, hey, we gotta adjust these.
Real quickly, on that last sentence, and the transformers for substations, it should be
Yeah,
plural.
plural.
Okay, good catch.
Thank you.
Okay, so the requested funds, that's gonna be adjusted accordingly for FY 2023. All right, recommendations for CIPs FY,
Well, the one thing okay, now that's so
Go ahead.
the sewer, I just put a placeholder there for saying, how do we want to, that, you know, we might not need that much money if we rebuild the plant, and these aren't,
And some projects might be put on hold or will be put on hold. I'm not sure how to word that the best.
do we want to just leave it there, so it's right there in front?
We can leave it there, and then when council has it in front of them, I'll be at the council meeting and I can
Well-
explain to them.
but the other thing you got, if you're gonna take and open up Pandora's box, is with the federal or state funds coming in, these numbers are wrong. In other words, you're getting money from, I don't remember the acronym.
ARPA?
Oh, no, well, actually, this, okay, so what's done here is that you've got, this is what's being requested, and then down below it shows the breakout, so now we need to put ARPA in. So we'll have to do that in that, so the next meeting, it'll be clearer, the ARPA money with it. So that's what you're asking, right, Greg?
Right, and what I'm saying is, these monies you're requesting funds amounts from are gonna change because of the ARPA money.
True, but this, right now, this 1.6, for an example, in sewer, is if we don't do the chlorination, like, you know, there's 2 projects that are possibly being done. If we're not gonna do them, and if Southern Nevada Water Authority does it, then we won't need a period. So for instance, you would go down $600,000 just right off the top. If we don't, that's what I'm saying. So I guess just let them know, that's why we keep on saying tentatively, and that's the other thing, is do we say something, this is gonna still need review, because there's still things out there. Whether we need a little bit more of a sentence with the treatment, I'm just trying to figure out how we put the treatment plant and make sure that they understand that there could be savings or something if the treatment plant is done.
Well, you might want to list on that as well, is built by the SN, you know, sort of whatever the, SNW. Yeah.
That's a good point. So do we want to just have something there, or do we want to put a little sentence, just, I guess, under a little paragraph or something right under sewer, so it would be just a little more of a statement? And do you want to, Keegan, do you want to work, you or Mike or something, do you want to just work on a single thing, then if everybody appreciate that?
Yep.
So is that okay? We'll have them just write up a little something and we'll keep it consistent through the out. Because basically we want to, so yeah, so include that the SNWA and some of that money might not be needed at all. Because what you're talking about, the money is needed, but we've got it. This one, we might not. So we need to work on the bottom with the ARPA, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Onward.
Onward.
Recommendation for CIPE fiscal year 2023. With the information the UAC has been given, the UAC agrees with that the capital improvement projects that have been requested are needed. The city CIP's request, is there supposed to be a hyphen on CIPs, plural?
Yeah. Whatever grammatically works.
Yeah, requested for FY 2023 are designed to modernize the city's infrastructure and improve its reliability, decrease system losses, and prepare it to handle future system load requirements. Next paragraph, although,
Okay, the intent of that is actually for all three. But I believe it's worded in a sense that it can be for electrical, water, and sewer, because you've got system losses and you've got loads and all those things.
right, that'll work.
Okay, and then the other one on top, so we're sort of got, should we say comments and recommendations? So we're sort of, because the next line I think is more of a comment. So do we want to say comment and recommendations? Or recommendations and comments? At the top heading there.
I think with the advent of the new potential engineering firm, I would take and be very careful on this. Although the UAC does agree the projects are needed, the UAC is concerned that the ongoing projects will not be completed.
Well, do we want to rephrase that so that with the new information, maybe we're saying with the new electrical firm, we're hoping that most or all the projects can be at least started in fiscal year 23, the new projects. How's that? Something like that? Is that?
Yeah, but see, my problem is grammatically, you've grouped all three systems into the first paragraph. And
correct.
we've only got an electrical engineering firm for the electrical projects, not the sewer, not the water.
Well, the sewer and water was my understanding wasn't as critical. Did I misunderstand that, Mike? Did it look like we would be able to flow those, or we still got big enough backlog that we might not be able to start fiscal year 23 in fiscal year 23?
That's less on Mike, more on myself and engineering.
Okay, sorry. Don't
Mike,
mean to put it.
Mike's doing all the day-to-day stuff, making sure we're still flowing downhill and drinking clean water. So for the water and wastewater, yeah, there's a decent-sized list of projects that need to be done there, but I have way less concerns about getting those ones started and completed versus the electric. I believe by hiring this power tech company that we're going to be in a lot better shape for electric.
So do we want to say something now, or do we want to just put a holder to say, confirm how to rephrase that second paragraph?
Or do we even need to restate that, because we said that?
We said it above?
Said it right above.
Yeah, why don't we
and
just
added
pull
that.
it?
Okay, no
Yep.
problem.
You can just delete that, although the UAC does agree.
Yeah. So again, on top though, the recommendations, we had made the top one a sentence. Do we want to say recommendations and comments for the fiscal, I'm sorry, finish your spot there where you're at, Josh. Okay. And, so if we say recommendations and comments, probably the best thing, well, actually, do we have comments, substation 3 requests, or transformers, or are we just recommending now, substation 3?
I'd leave it as a recommendation.
Okay, and then you just want to say, but you want to say comma, as listed to be below? You want to be consistent, Greg? Or is that one okay with you?
No, it's okay. I'm just trying to figure out how we need to add substation 5 in the request for transformers.
Right, well, let's just put it in there right now, but Keegan, you were going to get some more information, so. why don't we just put 5, maybe put number 5 in there, and then we'll reword it if need be. But Keegan's gonna be looking at that.
Yep. And we have it bolded above also.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So we're okay with, we're just gonna modify that sentence if we need to.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's correct.
Gotcha.
And then let's go ahead and, requested funds for FY 2024 through FY 2027. Those numbers are gelatinous at best, and we're just gonna leave that alone. Recommendations for CIP FY 2024 through 27. With the information the UAC has been given, the UAC agrees that the capital improvement projects that have been requested are needed. The city CIP requests for FY 2024 through 27 are designed to modernize the city's infrastructure and improve its reliability, decrease system losses, and prepare to handle future system load requirements. That, I don't recommend anything be changed on that.
It's a repeat, but it's just a matter of.
Well, it's a repeat with a different CIP fiscal year.
Exactly, okay, so everybody's
Okay.
happy then.
So we're just trying to pound it home that we're looking at the different sections. Since the existing additional funding sources for CIPs, plural, I feel it should be, only
Okay,
go through FY 2023, other funding sources will need to be reviewed.
so can you just add the S there, on Cips, I guess, will you put hyphen S there? Or just S, what, just S, okay. And then we just need, now we need a return after reviewed, so give it a separate line. Yep. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so then the following, okay, sorry, go ahead.
The following's page 2. The following information outlines the ongoing CIP, the FY 2023 CIP, and the FY 2024 through 27 CIP. Ongoing CIPs, current ongoing CIPs, sorry. Project numbers are Munis project/CIP project code. Electrical has 17 ongoing projects. 7 are close to close out. Number 1, UE 161 Boulder BC tap transformer, final drawings need to be completed. Number 2 is UE 183 meter replacement. We'll discuss closing when meter purchases are complete. Number 3 is E1902 feeder 53 replacement. Close, I think we shouldn't say close balance. Balance at close shifted to E2101.
And we're gonna have to make modifications to a number of these.
That's correct.
As Carol was mentioning earlier, that has been approved by the city manager already.
Yep.
So we'll be able to tweak these accordingly.
Okay, and what I'll say then is my readings is with necessary corrections
Why don't you,
or
why don't we,
updates.
why don't we change this, at least the top, and then we can just copy that, so because you had a good point, so why don't we change that first sentence,
On number 3, Josh,
yeah, on number 3, and then we can
Balance.
just take that
we could
further.
just say balance to E2101 at close of project.
Right. And the reason is that dash line, that dash mark is the continuation of the same portion of project.
At close of project.
Yeah.
I know. That we're just getting the verbiage. Carol was just saying that one is closed, that was part of the one that, but we're just getting the language that we can use for other instances that are the same.
Okay, so,
Okay, and then number 4 is E1907 substation improvements will be completed with substation rebuilds. Number 5 is E2009 capital equipment purchase. I don't know if they're gonna ask what you're trying to purchase, but it says waiting for truck availability. That'll really raise some flags with a couple guys and gals on council. What kind of truck? You know, put in parentheses, line truck.
Yep.
You know. Okay, and then the E2010 Claremont conversion close, again, we got closed balance to E1901. We need to fix that. to where it grammatically is
Yep.
better. Number 7 is the E2105 pole replacement program. Consider moving 600K excess after the 170K estimated to buy remaining poles as remaining poles that are necessary or just necessary. That's a grammar thing. I'm not good at it.
Should you put a dollar sign in front of the 600 and the 170?
Yeah, that would be better. Make sure it's, yeah.
So they know.
That one's gonna change, that one's already been done.
But we'll just put the dollar sign though, so,
Yep.
yeah, because make sure we're not missing like a KV, so it's a good point.
Yeah.
So anyways, move the funds to E1909, which is the 4 kV overhead line insulator, 95 cents, 95%. That doesn't carry well. Move funds to E1909, the 4 kV overhead line insulator upgrade. Since 95% of the installation of these poles is being performed with the 4 kV to 12 kV conversion.
Yeah, I think, if you guys are okay with it, I can go through and clean up the grammatical stuff,
Okay,
after the fact, just to save us time. We can focus on the principle or the concept behind it, if you guys want.
No, that sounds good to me. I was pulling it off, so my bad, because I was pulling off one of the spreadsheets that you were just trying to give us basic
Yep.
information,
Yeah,
so.
she just gives quick notes on those, so,
You know, and I it was my bad for
yeah.
not.
And I understood it when I was reading through it, and as a draft, I thought it was good enough for you guys to review and then give your recommendations, but we can leave it up a
Yeah.
little bit higher and I'll clean it up.
You know, you might want to put, you know, just make it a little easier to understand, but where you got 7, basically say 7 projects are close to close out, 3 projects are ongoing, 7 projects. So halfway through, 2/3 of the way through that, they don't say, what are you talking about, so.
Yeah. Just the titles for each of those 3 sections. 7 projects are near closeout, 3 projects are ongoing.
correct.
Yep.
Okay. So I guess I'm gonna start down here at the 3 ongoing, which is, UE 182 Feeder Arizona Street, begin work in substation 1 starting November 3rd. There's approximately 4 weeks of work left to be completed. E1909 4 kV.
Wait a
oh,
minute,
oh,
just a second.
Sure.
It says begin work in substation 1 starting November 3rd.
Began
This is
work.
December 1st,
Yeah.
so has it begun?
Yes.
Yes, they started. I'll have to get a status update. I was just reading something yesterday that was doing a status report.
You might just put, work is scheduled to be completed by the first of the year or something like that.
Yep.
The other one too, I guess, is that, so I think we're putting it in, I understand that we can keep the titles, but you're saying 3 projects are ongoing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you, once you're done with that, yeah, thank you. Okay, sorry, two things at once, Josh, sorry.
Ready?
Okay, so then delete the begin work.
I can't see that.
Yeah, I get, well, the whole, yeah, all the way to November 3rd, delete that. Yep. Here, great, thanks.
Can we add that construction has started, or?
Well, it started a long time ago, and then we had them take a break because of the heat. We didn't want to
Jeopardize.
power down the substation, and then they came back. So I don't know how we'd
Okay,
want to say that.
Okay, so,
I can work on some language when I'm fixing the grammatical stuff. I can say work started back up, or I'll think of something to
Okay,
put in there. Yep. Yeah, because they'll probably question that, because they know they awarded that project a long time ago, and then we just started. That'd be confusing.
Okay, E1909, which is a 4 kV overhead line insulator and transformers. Priority has, this is a, let's see, that's a problem. This is a priority. All right, just says priority has to be done before 4 to 12 kV cutover.
Yeah.
We've already mentioned this project being a priority on our cutover, but in this, we didn't say anything about, you know, just that it's a priority. What
Yeah.
priority is it,
Yeah, I can clean it up.
you know? So anyways, then we get to the E2001 Boulder City Tap to Buchanan overhead line. Contract change order process for additional work, material changes, and to extend the contract time associated with the additional work. That's fine.
Yep.
I mean, to me it is.
I guess, yeah, put the 7 projects are in, thank you. So, do we want, are these, does anybody have any comments through 1 through 5? And I think they're pretty good, and then Keegan can just check it and clean it up. Did anybody have anything that didn't sound overall right? So I think we can probably skip, actually, what, through 6? Does anybody have, or is it 7? There's 7, yeah,
7.
7. I should remember that.
One question I have, would you prefer it in order of project number or in order of priority? That's what I was thinking. So I'll switch that order to make it in priority.
Okay.
These are the 7 that are in design or need to be designed, correct?
Yep.
Are we gonna put anything next to that header that says a design firm is being considered for hiring to do the design work?
I can add that, or I can add it to the 4 to 6 that we're working on getting a scope for.
Yeah, all I'm trying to do is instead of them browbeating you because this keep coming up every year, we can say, hey, we've moved forward, we've got
Yep.
a company that looks good to be doing design work, and this 7 that need to be designed or in design can be reviewed and looked at and be done.
Let's just do one really quick, Josh, so that way it'll help remind, and I'd say I put it in bold. So what's the one you're looking at right away, to do?
Well, before I get into that, number 5, the Red Mountain, that's actually going out to bid tomorrow. So we can, I'll change the language on that.
Okay.
So the first one would be, 1, 2, 3, 4, it would be number 6. Because 1 and 2, 1 is pretty much done with design, 2 has got quite a bit of work on it, but will be done in-house. So the one that says priority 4, number 6.
Okay, yeah, so if you just put something right there, just so what do you wanna say, Greg or Keegan?
Well, we've got a statement that says here, 7 are in design or need to be designed. They've now started communications or talking with a design firm. That needs to be put in here because this document we're reviewing tonight.
Right.
And that's what Larry was just saying. We can put right there where Josh's cursor is saying, working on scope and fee with design consultant. And if you want to bold that, we can do that.
Yeah, that way it comes out clear if we bold it. And do we wanna say with new design consultant, does that help us or hurt us?
Yeah, I don't think.
It's not necessary.
Okay.
You know, one thing on number 5, the Red Mountain distribution line, you might want to make sure that down below it says FFA antennas, that should be FAA.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, FAA, good.
That's Future Farmers of America.
So I guess that covers it. So, do we want to just, I guess, so the rest of it is just, if the terminology is, well, let's see, maybe we go to the ongoing, is water and wastewater, or just have Keegan look it over. If nobody has any major things, we might go down to wastewater, but does anybody have any concerns to make sure he catches something on, water, the ongoing water projects? Was there anything of concern? 1 through 9? I think, say,
I have one quick question.
okay.
This section we're dealing with, this is the future, CIPs?
No, this is ongoing. Water, this is ongoing. This is still part of the ongoing aspect.
But how far out are we going with the statements?
What do you mean, how
Well,
far
like
out?
number 3, W2006 copper service replacement, ongoing project, 100% for FY '21. New contract not in place for first segment of 2022. First 2022 project at various locations advertised for bids due Thursday, 10/28. So is that still a valid statement?
No, I'm gonna have to clean that up.
Okay.
We
so
actually are
that's one we
advertising the
gotta
second
mark.
project for FY '22 tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, and then access and security improvements for the reservoir, which was W2009. That will be added to the lift station project.
So actually, it should be, yeah, so it'd be, is that closed? So it either closed, should it be closed? I'm not sure, but that's one thing you can look at and make sure that all
Yeah.
that is correct.
Backing up a step, do we want to move the current ongoing CIP, basically all page 2 and 3, to after page 4, 5, 6, and 7?
No, the reason I would like to keep it, because it's sort of, I thought maybe is linear, or however you want to say it, because here's what we have, and so the biggest problem was before is we had 7 design that we weren't gonna done, so it was sort of like, here's what we gotta get done, and here's what we're going.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, that's what I was wondering here. So if I get this right, on page 2, current ongoing CIPs, those are what we're doing at this point in time.
Yep.
Correct.
Why are we sticking it after we've already talked about 24 and 27? It seems to me that the things that are under the current ongoing CIP, everything under that heading, up through this where it says on page 3, FY '23, everything before that should go after the paragraph, this bolded paragraph on page 1.
What I was trying to do, and so we can change it if we want to, but I was trying to get sort of like an executive summary or.
Well, that's what this appears to be.
That was
an
the- that
executive
was the-
summary, and it probably ought to say that.
Yeah,
Because I'm reading through here and all of a sudden now we're skipping back and starting over again. But if it's an executive summary, it's fine. Just label it as such.
Okay, but that's what I was trying to get at with the
Right.
general statement in the beginning.
Because then we kind of always start over again, and that's where I got myself a
Okay.
little bungled up.
I was having a hard time getting the overall first page.
And I like the idea,
recommendation.
I think these lists are fantastic, really. I mean, they
Yep.
give a good description, what we're doing, go so forth and so forth. I just think it's a little out of place. But
Well,
I think all the wording's here.
it'd be in place if you just state that these are our all overall recommendations or
Right.
executive summary or something.
Right, if
Yeah,
it says executive summary, I think you got yourself
I
covered.
think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Good point, Howard.
Right.
Okay, so maybe let's just go back to the top so we don't lose that, and you want to put executive summary, and then if we don't find a better term for it, we'll just leave it that way.
Yeah, something, yeah, then maybe that's
So do you want to put that
summary or overall. look
right
or something.
above, the comments of ongoing, right? So, because this information is for everything.
Yep.
And then right there would be executive summary. And then put that as a bigger font, but we can,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
bold it in, but as a bigger font. Yep, great, perfect. Okay, is that, and then we can just flow through it and make sure.
Yeah, and then you just start saying, then it's just review of existing work and all the details are there. I think you got it.
Okay.
I think it looks pretty cool.
That was part of my problem, after I reread this thing the same too, is okay, the front page needed something, and I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, yep, that's fine. I think we do that, we're good.
Okay, so do we, okay, so I guess I would suggest it depends on Keegan, how much that's going to be for you is just, do we just, because it's still basically, you're trying to make sure what's moved around and the numbers and stuff, we can,
Yep.
right, Eileen and I can help you on that too, but I'm not sure it's worth going through unless somebody's got something, but I guess we could look at two on this one, so good job, Josh. So where we got the highlighted, put on hold, do you have some thoughts or do you want some input?
Yeah, I've got some ideas for it, and I think whatever we put in the highlighted sections above, it's a copy and paste down.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so is everybody okay with that? So I guess, as long as, because that was one of some of my concerns, was just making sure that the treatment, that was some of my additions. Anybody, okay, so is that fast forwarding too much, or is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, like you've said a couple times, as long as we're good conceptually, I don't think we need to worry about any of the grammatical smaller stuff.
Okay, and then, so the only thing else is then we might also tweak a front or a last paragraph just to sort of tie everything together if we need to. So if we can get it done next week, we could also, do we need to get the lawyer, can we send it out to everybody and say this is the final product, and if anybody has any major concerns, send it back? You get basically a day maybe to do it?
I'll have to ask. My only hesitation is if that has to be presented to the public, because anything that's supposedly presented to you is supposed to go out to the public. So I'll have to figure that out.
Okay, because we wouldn't be discussing it among ourselves, we would send everything back to you.
Yep.
And just as a final aspect, so three of us, and again, I guess as long as everybody trusts us, but it's just a matter of if there's any major concerns.
Yeah, I think it'll, like I said, I'll have to clarify with the city clerk or city attorney, but I think we could send it out. I'll blind copy everybody after I make the tweaks on it, and then that removes any ability for you guys to hit reply all and send it all back.
Gotcha. And the other thing too is the final product will be part of the council meeting, so that covers that too.
Yep.
Because I'm sure it'd just be some minor tweaks if anybody has any.
Yeah, it's just gonna be minor language stuff, and only the biggest changes are changing the language for substation 3, 4, and 5, because we're gonna try to spend that money in 22.
Right. Well, yeah, because like, for instance, right now, we got 5 in 2023, and if we move that to 22, we don't have, there's nothing in 23, it's 24 and 25.
Yep.
So those are things that have to be looked at. So it's a little bit of a moving and tweaking and stuff. Okay, so I put Eileen on the spot at times, and Greg, they're the grammar, a lot better grammar. Did you catch anything else that we'd want to make sure we catch on any of these? Something that didn't quite make sense or can be stated better?
No, I think if Keegan's gonna go through and kind of tweak the wording and update it to today, it all looks pretty good to me.
Okay.
So do we need to take a vote that we conceptually agree on it? Is that the best way to do it?
I think that would be great.
Okay, let me see if I can, does anybody have a motion, or do you want me to put a motion? Does anybody have an idea for a motion? Oh, thanks a lot. Okay, so I put together a motion that we conceptually agree to the document that will be finalized by Keegan, myself, and Eileen. So okay, let's make this easier. So we're gonna have to get it down. We want a basic motion. Approve the report.
I would just say, I move that we conceptually accept the review of the utilities 5-year capital improvement plan, FY 23 through 27, in its present draft form.
But also agree that changes will be made.
Yeah, and knowing that changes will be made, we can say that too.
Corrections.
Yeah,
Corrections.
any corrections or additions will be reviewed.
Okay, so, so you gonna do that now, or you want me to put that?
Close enough for me.
Well, as long as, Josh, can you pull that out of the,
Accept it.
do you need us to rephrase that, or can that be pulled out of the, because that motion will have to be put into the minutes? Is that clear enough?
Well, the beginning of, your statement, we didn't get your mic wasn't on, so if you could repeat yourself. Howard?
Okay. Make a motion that we accept accept the drafted December 1st, 2021 review of the utilities 5-year capital improvement plan for FY 23, FY 27. And that corrections that will be made will be presented to, that's what I'm feeling. And corrections will be presented to City Council. That sounds cool. All right.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, so all in favor of the motion? Okay, sorry, is there any discussion of the motion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. It passes unanimously. So thank you, everybody, for the effort that you put into it. I greatly appreciate it. Okay, so that is agenda item 4. Close out agenda item 4. Go to agenda item number 5, discussion of electrical irrigated integrated resource plan and solar discussion. Is there anything, Keegan, that you have on that?
I don't have any updates on that. The charts are still in there about the solar. I haven't had a chance to speak with Mr. Krantz about him coming out to do a presentation. Just been focusing on the CIP, so I don't have an update on this one at this time.
Okay, that's, I guess, the one comment, then I'll put it out there really quick, is that so, do we want to look at February? Because then you
Yeah.
haven't got a hold of him.
Other than what we mentioned in the goals, we're looking at February, March timeframe of presenting the first draft. Because the way the goals said it, we weren't going to show anything to you till October, and that's not the case.
No, well, yeah, right, but we're looking at the solar, so we're looking at having
Oh, the solar? Yep.
SCE come for the presentations. I was figuring that.
I'll make it a point to reach out to Mr. Krantz and find his availability and see if he could come either the 1st of January or 1st of February.
Oh, okay. Eileen? Does anybody else have anything that they just want to do a quick discussion among the groups to want to move things forward, or did something come up?
I saw this white paper that had been presented, and actually, I quite liked what I saw. Is that something that came from SNWA or from Scott Rands, or?
If it's the same white paper I'm thinking of, most of that came from city staff. It was a combined effort.
I thought it looked pretty good, I thought, when I read it. Yeah. Very good.
Any other comments? Okay, so we'll close out item number 5 and go to item number 6, discussion regarding water conservation goals, objectives, and rates. Again, just if there's any update.
Not much of an update. Staff's still working on smaller scale water conservation. We're doing water audits within our irrigation department, or irrigation division, and still proceeding. I know the Parks and Rec have been in discussions with a landscape architect that helped out with the design of some of the golf courses, and working with him on getting a scope and fee for possible turf removal. And then we're also working on our own larger plan for medians and stuff like that for turf removal. I anticipate having some sort of public workshop at some time in the next couple months, just to show people what our thoughts are right now, get feedback from them.
So we'll have some document to share with us beforehand, or, okay?
Yep, I can do that same time or beforehand.
Yeah, beforehand would be appreciated. So, now I'm just one curiosity, the post office, is that government land or is that? So their flags and stuff, they're taking that on in the government aspect, federal?
Yep.
Okay. Now
We keep on talking about the treatment plant improvements for irrigation, I'm assuming we're gonna use that water for irrigation?
Correct.
What are our limits on our BOD and TSS now for our plant? We'll probably, I suspect they're 30/30, but I don't know.
I'm not sure either.
Cause I think we need to know that number because the groundwater reuse numbers that you're allowed, the BOD limits and the TSS, the total suspended solids, the organic portion and the suspended solids portions of the treated effluent for groundwater typically have to be under 30 milligrams per liter. And that changes with area and use and so forth. But for what we're proposing it go on to, I'm sure that's what the limits would be. The treatment process we have probably has some difficulty meeting the suspended solid limit in the summertime. The BOD, the organic portion of it probably is met fairly consistently, I would suspect. So at one point in time, several years ago, I think I mentioned this in another meeting, but there were plans to put a filtration system on the end of the treatment plant to remove the problems with that algae removal is kind of difficult with any kind of filtering system because of the biological nature of that. But I guess my point is, I don't think we're too far off. I don't know if a new treatment plant is needed for the type of facilities we have. I'd like to find out more about that as we go along here, because I'd hate to see us invest a biological treatment system with activated sludge and other types of systems will require a lot more maintenance, O&M type numbers, plus the pay of the operators. The skill level of the operators will have to be improved upon, and that will cost us more money and so forth. Not that it shouldn't be done, but we don't have to. As long as we don't have to take our water back to the lake, we have the limits we're making, or the process that's out there right now should be not that difficult to get to an irrigation level. But, it seems like more money would be spent on the infrastructure to get the water back up to where it's going to be used, because it might have to include a reservoir, a standpipe, something that allows the high head, depending on the level we got to pump, you have to be able to pump up against that and get the water delivered. So I'd just like to know, I think what I'd like to find out is, just get a copy of our permit, page out of the NPDES permit, to see what that limits are. And like I said, I'm pretty certain all the groundwater permits I've ever seen are all 30/30, and I'm talking about the BOD and the TSS.
Can they get the salt out of that water to the level now that it won't kill the grass?
No, not without an RO system.
Right, that's what I was wondering about using that water.
But the rule of that is, they being the state, NDEP, will say, you have a limit of so many milligrams per liter of salinity above the baseline of your potable water. So our potable water is probably around 800 or 900 milligrams per liter of salinity. So the permit was working with, we could add an additional 1,200 milligrams per liter on that permit. So those are things that have to be addressed as well, because in fact, if you use that water on golf courses, most of the golf course people will not put that water, high salinity water, on the greens. They'll want to use potable water on the greens because of the salinity issue.
Right.
but agronomically, it doesn't do anything, it's just a detriment to the growing of that. So anyway, those are things we'll have to address, and I know that the city had investigated, Boulder City had investigated putting filters on, and some of that technology they were looking at was pretty well proven. I don't know where that project ever went, Keegan, but I know I just came out because at the time I heard about the project, and I just kind of nosed around about it and saw what they were doing, but they were investigating some fairly straightforward filtering systems that would work. And I don't know where that report's probably somewhere on someone's shelf, but.
Yeah, I'm sure I could look.
And I think I can't even remember, it's probably done around 2009 or 10 or 11.
Okay.
And there was a company out of Arizona that was they did a whole pilot study and had manufacturers bring out different, filtering systems that were tried, and different polymers and different things were added to it.
Okay.
So that should have been probably somewhere. I never saw a final copy, but.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do, see if I can
So anyway,
dig
but
it up.
I just, I think it's a great thing to reuse the water, but as long as we don't have to go to the lake with the water, we should be in fairly good, with the system we have. I don't think would need a whole lot of improvements, other than some sort of filtering system to remove those total suspended solids.
I know that 40 years ago, the city tried to build a tree farm down below the existing wastewater treatment plant, and it failed miserably because the water was just so salty that they couldn't get any trees to grow in it. So,
No, that's
so it's obvious, it's something to be
all
considered.
cedars grow, love it.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, but those are concerns, those things we have to concern ourselves with, because if you got to put an RO system, reverse osmosis system on it, you're shot. You might as well pack up and go home and think of something else to do.
Well, that's probably, because it's still looking at $20 million, if I understood correctly, and I think that's what they're looking, is that what?
That would be for a
the
full rebuild. I like what Howard's saying, and what I had envisioned, if this does come to fruition and an engineer is hired, I'd like them to come
Right.
discuss this with you guys on how much we really have to do.
Right, because the biggest question would be, what is our treatment plant capable of doing right now?
Yep.
And does it meet the groundwater application limits?
Mhm.
And that would be the source, that would be the thing.
So what's been discussed right now with SNWA, have they put together, is there some type of white paper or something that has general guidelines?
No, about the whole conversation that we've had is conceptually, are we open to treating our water to the level that we need to be able to use that on golf courses or parks, and in turn draw less water out of the lake? That's the extent that we're at right now.
Right.
And as long as the city is open to using treated water on the parks and the golf course, they're open to paying for it.
If it's called if the treatment process I would envision on some sort of what they call a package treatment plant. It's a can with all the different compartments already there and blah, blah, blah. The secondary effluent, or the effluent that comes out of the biological process would fully meet all the limits that we would need for groundwater application, except for the salinity. And that's kind of a guess. There's nothing to predict what it is. What we do is have to look at the other entities in the valley and see how their process progresses with it. But those systems are fairly sophisticated, far beyond what we would need.
Well, could we also look at a hybrid, because my understanding, I'm sure there's enough effluent to cover a lot of the irrigation use that we want. Can we take the raw water and dilute it?
Yeah, that's a possibility, and that's how you would combat the salinity issue.
Right, so then.
So you'd make a blend.
It'd be a lot cheaper than.
But then, you gotta have a mixing tank. Sometimes you change the chemistry of that, and the water does goofy things on you, because you gotta look at all the different components of it, but, but it's just, it's a,
Well-
you never get a free lunch here. You never get, there's always something else that's gonna bug you.
I've always wondered if it maybe a possibility that the city could contract or somebody, or find somebody that could go out and find somebody that wanted to use a lot of that water.
Well,
in the valley.
we just had the notice in the paper about how the solar people had all kind of problems with dust.
Yeah.
I mean, dust
I mean,
control,
sell it for something where the salt doesn't matter.
I mean, to me, that water could be used for that,
Yeah.
definitely.
For sure.
And I'm sure, and there might be even less of those restrictions on that type of water use
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Because of where it's being used and what it's being applied to. I don't know what those limits are. We'd have to investigate. It's easy enough to call the state and say, hey, what's the limits? I could probably do that, but those are, I'm just curious about what it's just to reduce water. I think we need to first look at what our effluent can be done, what can be done with our effluent to improve it, and what the infrastructure is. I'm more concerned about the infrastructure, to be quite honest, and the pump maintenance and all the things that go with that.
No, you got a very good point, because even if we get everything free, it's the cost after the fact that's gonna be pretty big. So
Correct,
that's really greatly
right.
appreciated.
And it's probably fairly easy to get typical O&M costs for a treatment plant of that size, or capacity. I mean, that shouldn't be that difficult to find those numbers somewhere fairly easily. An engineer should have that data available, so.
So what's the time frame that, is that sort of, are we going in parallel with some of the stuff, or is it like the turf is one priority and then the treatment plant's another priority, or how are we doing it?
The treatment plant is kind of going on its own line right now. SNWA said that they're gonna start drafting up some language for a potential contract to do this. But then city staff is doing all the water audits, the turf removal, and so they're running side by side, but the treatment plant or whatever we decide to do is
I mean, a
separate.
treatment plant, a study, if someone else is gonna fund it for us, would be definitely worth having.
Yep.
To investigate the things we just brought up. What is the quality of the water we have to reach? What is that O&M cost gonna be for that particular type of treatment plant? There's several options. Address the salinity issue, address all those pieces in a preliminary report, so we know where we're at.
No, so was the preliminary report, or was it just like, this is what we think you need? I almost get the impression that SNWA say, this is what you need, this is what we'll do.
I wasn't a part of the conversations when this initially came up, so I don't know if they proposed it that way. I think ultimately all they care is we're taking less water out of the lake.
Correct.
I don't think they really care what we do to the treatment plant, just as long as we can use that instead of lake water.
Because if you get, just, again, don't wanna get down in the weeds too far, but if you have a salinity issue, you have to put another filter, you have to have one type of filtering system that's a sand type filter. Then you have to follow that with a membrane filter, followed by the RO. All right? So now you got 3 more systems here.
And it takes a lot of energy to do that.
And it takes a lot, and to do an RO costs a lot of money just to pump that. You're probably, to get salinity out of the water, you're probably talking 200 or 300 PSI just to run that up. So now you got a lot of energy just to push that through.
Yep.
So, on a smaller scale, you'd have to look at that. What does that cost? What does it cost? And then replacement, those things only last, now they're only proven to last 10, 15 years. You gotta buy a whole new system 10 or 15 years from now, which, hey, we're not paying for that anymore. S&W says you're on your own. So,
Exactly.
So, it's just another effort, that's all. So I just trying to lay it out there, what we would be looking at, but I think a preliminary report, a preliminary study would be very valuable in telling us where to head on that particular end of if it's that important. If they would, somebody just coming and say, hey, put in a packaged treatment plant and this is what it's gonna do, I'm not too hip on that, so.
I have a quick question. Water softeners. I think everybody in this community has one. And if we were to take an issue, an edict to change from salt to potassium chloride, how much salinity will we get out of the water?
It's kind of an equal trade-off. You won't have that much of a, it's still saline, it's gonna be measured as total salt.
Well, the reason I'm asking is there's some smaller communities that have banned salt and water conditioners, water
Well,
softeners.
that's why, you know, that if you're gonna combat this salinity issue, you gotta get rid of your softeners.
Well, that might be
And
something
you
to look
can't, and you
at.
can't generate, they can't all regenerate at 11 o'clock at night, like they're set up to do. Because that's gonna dump a hell of a load on that treatment plant at 11 o'clock at night. And, you know, and so, that's not, it's not gonna hurt the biological process. It really won't help it either. So, those are just, you know, you tell people you're taking away the water softener, we'll be more help, there'll be a lot of heck to pay for that one, so, you know.
So I guess so that in this, going with the goals, we have, the conservation that you were looking at possibly having something January, February, or did we say, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that for the conservation of the turf removal and stuff?
Yeah, sometime this spring, I think would be good to have a rough draft of what the plan is gonna be. Mainly right now, we're more doing research and figuring out the plan versus actually writing something up.
So I think, and the reason, so I would put that first, cause then the same thing is then the treatment plant. So if they're sort of going in parallel, if I'm hearing right. So would that be spring too, would that be a little bit later?
Probably about the same time. The treatment plant might actually, the language getting drafted for that might be a little quicker.
Cause what I'm hearing is we would like to, I think it's good for the city to understand exactly what they're doing instead of the SNWA to say, hey, this is good. We'll take care of it, don't worry, and then go forward. So if we can see something sooner than later, then it would be helpful to.
Yep.
To do it, so, okay, so I'm hearing you have concerns too, so I think we were all on the same page here, so
Yeah,
sooner we can get.
Like Howard was saying, the first thing that popped in my head was the O&M cost. Having to hire additional guys. They're gonna, I'm not sure exactly what certs the guys have now. I know they have, I don't think.
They probably have a low, they probably only required to have a level 4.
Yeah.
And don't have to have at least a level 2 or 3, so.
Yeah.
You know, you're probably talking, look at the other valley, you look at what the competitors are paying, and they're paying for a level 2 operator, they're paying probably 42 to 50,000 a year just for that one guy.
Yeah.
Train them up here and they'll go across the way.
Yep.
So,
Right.
you know.
No, well, I think Howard, that was good insight, so I think that's what that's what I appreciate this time for, is to bring up these, and then, I think some of it's, let's get the lead time, and we're ahead of the game instead of fighting to say, oh, you need that by tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, okay, anything else on the water conservation?
I just have, when I looked at this agenda item, when I look at the very last word, rates, and I don't know if that's the utility rates or the rates of water we're consuming, but with this Raftillus model, and we look at what fund balances are, and we've discussed this in the past of possibly reducing water rates to our citizens, especially the least consumers.
Mm-hmm.
And is that something that we're still looking into?
Yeah, we had mentioned it, I think it was the last meeting, talking about creating another tier.
Right.
I haven't had a chance to dive into that. I need to work with finance and figure out something, but we'd like to discuss it with you guys and see what the recommendations are. And
Yeah, looking at this Raftillus model, I think that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we have, two major issues that we wanna get back to, and I think that's another thing too, we're trying to figure out whether that goes to the next 7, but I think we can still talk on 6, is we're trying not to overburden the city but at the same time, we need to move things forward. So right now, you've got the capital projects, the next one's gonna be the budget, and that's gonna be very time consuming. So we have three things. We need to get back to the water, rates, cause we only did $10 off, and we all said that we wanted to look at the cost of service, so that has to be still reviewed. We then have I guess then would look at just to take another review of all the rates again.
Yep.
And so the simple ones like the sewer and stuff, could be done probably as late as, March maybe. But if we're trying to get everything done by, cause if I remember correctly, are we looking at April when are we looking at the final? Okay. let's see.
Final adoptions in, the last meeting in May.
Yeah, but it is file tentative budget with city clerk, budget meeting with city council in April 19th. Published notice of evidence, so if I remember like last year, April's a pretty busy pushing to get some of the final numbers. So we would want to be, I think we'd be wanting to look at it in February and March to have an idea of what could possibly change in February, and if there's any reductions in the revenue.
Yeah. I think with having our CIP somewhat squared away, and then being able to put the ARPA funds into there, that'll help with being able to figure out what we can do with the rates.
Okay. And then the other one, I'm sorry, was the other, what I was trying to think that we have to get back to is that, is the residential, Schedule B on 1 meter serving multiple units.
Yep.
So we need to get back to that as soon as possible. So,
Also our commercial meter charges, service charges for commercial meters,
that's
industrial.
right, that's the
Yeah.
$10 charge that we only incorporated $10, and we did look at the rest of it, so I totally agree. So I guess now we can probably shift over, because then we can look at the agenda items to see where maybe that fits well. But before I shift, then Marty, was there anything else on that? Okay, because I think the rate's on there, so we can sort of figure out how the conservation, because the big portion is conservation and rates, because we need to keep certain rates at it, so to conserve water, but we also need to look at the additional costs, so it does dovetail in there. Okay, anybody else on conservation, water conservation? Okay, I'll close agenda number 6 and go to agenda number 7 for possible action, discussion, and direction regarding potential agenda items for upcoming utility advisory committee meetings. So we did this one, and it'll be just a little bit over 2.5 hours. That wasn't too bad. Again, I think to lead into this, we were I think to confirm, we're trying to limit the extra work, sort of, for lack of a better word. So remind everybody, or remind myself, is that we're looking at maybe 1 or 2 major items per meeting, but then having if we have a larger agenda, we're just saying that we're having it available for discussion. So I guess with that in mind, we're going into the budget then, I think, next time is what we're trying to probably focus on.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that, is if we it would probably be beneficial to have it on there, but I'm just not sure there's gonna be enough to talk about. But if we have stuff to talk about, but we don't have it on the agenda, then we're in trouble, so I think it would probably be, you can put the budget, the O&M budget on here, and then if there's nothing to talk about or very little update, then there's very little update.
Well, if we just say fiscal year 23 budget period, that covers almost everything, doesn't it? We'd have pretty broad aspect that we could cover, just in case.
Yeah.
So do we go with the same 7 that we had, and we add that one? Or are we still, I think, is everything pretty much?
Do we need to have number 4 on there?
Sorry, just looking at that myself. Do we need to? Well, the one thing is we're talking about ongoing.
Number 3,
We're trying to figure things out. So do we leave it at that, or do we just say, continue review of the 5-year capital plan?
We could say continue to review, or we could add some of the ARPA language, just because hopefully we'll have an update on the ARPA funding at that time.
Okay.
See if there's been any projects designated.
Well, then also, because I think what we want to do is there might be a possibility of another update for the final budget to say, okay, you tentatively reviewed that, you approved this, but it's been able to be refined, and so here's the latest. So if we continue to at least have it on the agenda, you know, if we're lucky, maybe we can do a 15-minute just update to say this has been discussed or whatever.
Yep.
So then if we did that, we would have 8 items with the inclusion of the budget and keeping 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, does everybody okay with that? Eileen? Okay. And is there anything that we want to sort of put out there in the future that we want to get back to that so this will be, if I'm looking at my calendar correctly, this is January 5th. This will be for January 5th, the next meeting.
I think so.
And it's already on the calendar. I think it'd be helpful if we can maybe go ahead and move put it from 3 to 7, just to be on the safe side. What I'm seeing in the future, it's 3 to 5. So if somebody were to come behind us, it would push us.
Okay.
6 or 7 would be at least, would be helpful. I guess we'll just know that we want the rates pretty soon, so in January, we'll look at that again. Okay. If we're talking about, we've got the rates on the conservation. Does that open us up for pretty much all of them, or just water?
It's probably limited to the water on.
Okay, well, if we talk about budget, then we probably won't be able to do the other energy rate until March or February or March anyway. So January, we'll revisit that to see if we want to put an item on there for discussion on rates to make it a little bit more clear.
We could add the electric rates to item number 5 also.
Okay, that'll work.
I thought we were gonna have a presentation from SSEA,
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
so that's something we have to put in the line items also.
I will add that when I get a hold of him and he narrows it down for me.
Okay. Okay. So I guess anything else on the agenda items? Okay, so we will have the final, so we will close out agenda item 7 and go to the final public comment period. So I'll just read this so it's all totally clear. Each person has up to 5 minutes to speak at the discretion of the chair. Comments made during the public comment period of the agenda may be on any subject. All remarks shall be addressed to the committee as a whole, not to any individual member of the committee or of the staff. There shall be no personal attacks against the chair members or the UAC, the city staff, or any other individual. No person other than the members of the Utility Advisory Committee and the person who has the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussion, either directly or through a member of the UAC, without the permission of the chair or presiding officer. No action may be taken on a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been specifically included on the agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak? Okay, we didn't get anything on the final one, did we? No email, nothing, didn't think so. Okay, so go ahead and, so for the phone number again is 702-589-9629. Well, not hearing anybody on the line, I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Second it?
Second?
Go ahead.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the meeting is adjourned at 5:35. Thank you all for your time.